South Africa's Competition Commission recently conducted search and seizure operations at the premises of 8 insurance companies, saying they had reasonable grounds to suspect that these companies allegedly engaged in collusive behavior that included fixing of investment product fees and premiums for dread, disease, and life cover. The commission says it suspects that companies operating in Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, and Western Cape provinces fixed prices and/or engaged in shoddy trading conditions. It further revealed that the insurance firms shared information on premium rates for risk-related products and fees for investment products, which enabled them to adjust the prices of their existing and new insurance products in contravention of the Competition Act. Joining me to discuss this from Johannesburg is Sipho Ngwema. He's the head of communication for the Competition Commission of South Africa. Sipho, welcome to Business Edge. Let's look at this because these allegations are quite serious for an industry that really has to deal with a lot of trust and credibility in what it does. So how did the alleged collusion and price fixing come to the Commission's attention?
Thank you, Olu, and good morning to you and your viewers. We received information around January last year, which led to the Commissioner, Thembinkosi Bonakele, to launch an investigation into the insurance industry. It's one of the players in the cartel who then made these allegations that there was a cartel in which they were colluding and they're also setting prices with regards to the products that you mentioned earlier. But also, it seems from the allegations that we received that this may have started as long ago as the 1980s. So this is then was processed, that information that we received from the whistleblower, and which led us to go to those companies that are based in the 8 sites that we raided. But those companies, all of them, they operate nationally and they have clients throughout the country.
Wow. So you're saying that these allegations and some of the issues may go back as far as the 1980s. And you use the word cartel, a member of the cartel. So how deeply entrenched or rooted do you think these practices are in Nigeria, in South Africa's insurance industry?
For now, we're looking at the allegations. Of course, the allegations that have been made so far, they passed our credibility test, which means then that we had to go and raid these companies after receiving a warrant from a judge for us to be able to do a dawn raid on the 8 companies. We'll only know once we have gone through the information that we retrieved from these organizations on whether or not these allegations can be substantiated. And I think we'll have a view in terms of how widespread is it once we have gone through that evidence. So for now, we have to sift with a fine tooth comb to make sure that those allegations are substantiated. If not substantiated, we'll see what else can we do going forward with regards to what we have received so far.
All right, so let's look at one of the allegations in particular, and this includes, of course, that the companies were sharing information on premium rates for risk-related products and fees for investment products. So this would also just beg the question, in terms of them possibly setting industry prices and controlling that, how does this affect the prices of insurance products? And in the long run, all of this leads back to the South African consumer who has to, by law, buy certain types of insurance. So how was the South African consumer affected by these situations?
Undoubtedly, the consumer was affected because in terms of the Act, competition companies are not supposed to share sensitive pricing information. And I think in terms of the allegations that we have before us with regards to these companies, it seems as though they may have even shared passcodes, which then grants all of them access to each company's sensitive information. And must remember, when companies don't compete, when companies do not allow each other to compete, the consumer is the one that bears the brunt of those high prices. But if you have companies competing, one company can come at a lower price and a better quality than the rest, which forces the others to come down. But when they are not doing that, when they are sitting and colluding, then fixing those prices, it means they then set prices that probably one would entrench the dominant position, but also that will make sure that none of them go beyond a certain threshold, which then harms the prospects in terms of the consumer, because the consumer then is stuck with the prices that those companies in the cartel have fixed. And this is why it's a serious problem with regards to the Competition Act. And we had to act in terms of that act to make sure that if there's anything like that, we then have to take serious steps going forward, referring those companies to the Competition Tribunal for prosecution. But as I said, and I want to emphasize that we are still busy with that investigation, and whether or not such collusion did take place, it will be determined by the kind of evidence that we have received from the various companies.
All right, so the allegations are all showing that the companies are possibly in contravention of the Competition Act. And in terms of that act, which is really what gives the commission also its power and its authority, how competitive do you think generally the insurance market in South Africa is? As you've said, we can see it with some of the commercials we see. Consumers are able to shop around and ask insurance firms to provide quotes for them so that they're able to compare what the insurance companies are offering versus what they have to pay. But when you look at the competitiveness of the industry and these being such top-rated firms, what do you think about that?
Look, it's going to be difficult for now to comment in terms of the competitiveness of the prices, because of our economists have to look at what features do they see in terms of those kinds of prices. But for now, of course, it was business as usual. The Competition Commission did not suspect anything until the whistleblower, which purports that they were part of that cartel, tells us or told us that these allegations go back to the 1980s. So that's what we are investigating. So after we have gone through that with the fine comp, as I said, it will only be then that we can be able to understand exactly what effect this has had on prices and whether or not the situation can be improved or should be improved, or what kind of interventions besides prosecution that the competition authorities would have to embark on in order to remedy the situation.
And that was actually my next question, because there's a line of action that needs to be taken. So let's just reemphasize for the audience in terms of what the next steps are and what basically penalties or possible sanctions are even available, not necessarily what will happen, but what is available to the competition panel that's going to be investigating.
Yes, of course, the first one, if the information that we have received or we have retrieved from these companies subsequent to the raids supports or substantiates the allegations that have been made, then there are a number of options. The first one is to take these companies for prosecution to refer them for prosecution before the Competition Tribunal. But also we can set out a number of other remedies that will make sure that the situation is reversed and addressed fairly and transparently. But also there are a number of other powers that the competition regulators, particularly the Competition Tribunal, it can impose a fine on the relevant companies that may be found guilty. And the law allows us to ask up to 10% of the company's turnover during those years in which the breach took place. So that's what can be done with regards to fining the company's monetary fine with regards to those. But also, as I said, there can be remedies tailored to make sure that it's effective, and also those companies are able to pay for what they have done if a decision is taken to prosecute.
All right, finally, Sipho, let me ask this. We're focusing on these companies, about 8 of them that are involved, but it might be, again, using the word might, be a larger industry problem. In terms of the Competition Commission and its ability to correct or even to discourage others from attempting what's been allegedly going on now, what is the Commission doing in that regard, and even to educating the South African public as to their rights as consumers?
Of course, we continue with our efforts to educate consumers in terms of the various aspects of competition, particularly things around price fixing, collusion, abuse of dominance, and many other aspects of the Competition Act. But also, I think what is important, this particular investigation has triggered a lot of interest from consumers. So we'll follow this up with education so that people can be able to understand what are the features that they must look for when they suspect that there may be collusion. But I think importantly, we will then be guided by the facts in terms of which other companies may be involved. Must remember, we still have to go through what we have retrieved, and we don't know where that information is going to take us. But undoubtedly, if it points to other companies involved in any act that breaches the Competition Act, we have to act, and we have to act swiftly and decisively.
All right, so we'll be following up with this very closely. Sipho Ngwema, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be seeing how things play out, and we look forward to talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And that conversation is one that involves 8 of the biggest insurance firms in South Africa and may have reverberations and consequences for the insurance industry in the most developed economy on the continent. We'll follow very closely to see how it plays out and what consumers also could gain from this. Now, we will be going to Stock Watch before we wrap things up. Have you heard of meme stocks? Not the social media meme or cryptocurrency meme coins. This was a fad that came during the lockdown era, and it's still here. But does it have staying power? We'll get into this on Stock Watch coming up next.